Good morning and welcome. Happy Thursday. Hope your day is off to a good start. I am Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom to start your days. Sorry, a message just dropped in and derailed me. Squirrel. I have some interesting things to talk about today. I had a sense that we weren't doing a card today, that we would be using a book or something other than a card deck today, which is what tested strong. So welcome to whomever popped on. Jonelle, good morning. Good morning, good morning. So I want to read a little section out of Taking the War Out of Your Words. Yes, I know your response just dropped in and derailed me. I'm good at derailing. Squirrel. So I want to kind of lay the land for this reading today, this little section that I'm going to be talking about, because I was on a circles call last night, and it's in lieu of Zoom or Teams or whatever other, but I love circles because it puts us all in a circle, and when it's your turn to talk, you move into the middle of the circle. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. And you can throw confetti. You can move all the circles together for a hug. It's just a very cool program. So, on circles for a group where I'm part of their general circle, and it's called Generative Local Community Institute, and it's such an interesting group of people, and the things there that we're trying to accomplish just make my soul happy. And given some of the world right now, it's good to have things that make one's soul happy. So one of the things that Generative Local Community Institute, GLCI, does is assess people's human flourishing. So we measure 8 dimensions of human flourishing, and those would be emotional, social, spiritual, physical, intellectual, economic, environmental, and mental. Well, so every time we get together, which is twice a month, we have picked one of those dimensions of human flourishing to explore more deeply. We rate ourselves every week on all of the dimensions, and we're gathering data to utilize down the road. But we pick one each time we get together and talk about how we're doing more deeply on that dimension. Well, yesterday's dimension was mental. And good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. And across the group of people who were reporting on their current mental status, basically, it was significant, good morning, Catherine, the number of people who were not doing as well. And I'm sure if I go back and look at the data, I will see that other of their dimensions of human flourishing were also down. And so I thought there was a sense of, this is too strong a word, but I'm not coming up with a more muted word, embattled. People feeling embattled, impinged upon, too much stuff going on, too many tabs open on the computer, etc. So I was thinking, I wonder what, and when people are in that frame of mind, they kind of get defensive. It's like, not one more thing on my plate. Thank you very much. So this morning, just to kind of modify that a bit, I put on some harmony. Thought, why not? Let's have some harmony here. And what came up, I took Taking the War Out of Our Words, I held it in my hands, and I went, okay, what do we need to focus on today? And when I opened the page, defensiveness. Good morning, Angie. Glad you are here. Welcome. So the page that we're open to, that I'll read to you, is actually articulating 6 types of defensiveness. Good morning, Nancy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the sunshine. Not sure we're going to see much of that today. We got like a quarter of an inch of icy, sleety stuff, and I guess we're going to get kind of nailed on Saturday. We shall see. But 8 types, 6 types. let me look. 6 types of defensive reactions. And I want to articulate those again. And when I read them, because it was very illuminating to read them again, but also when I got to the end of it, I'm like, okay, now what? And then I went, Bonnie, you have tools. Dig out the tools. So we'll go through these. And what I'm wanting you to see is that we are surrounded by this kind of reactivity, steeped in defensive reactions from others. So you say to somebody, have a good day. Oh, really? And then let's talk about what we can do about that. Interestingly, also, as I opened up my phone to set up today's YEMIG, there was a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it was about what do we do about this kind of behavior, this kind of stuff, this kind of reactivity. So, know that as I'm going through the 6 defensive reactions to refresh our memories, we will get to the point where we can talk about, and now what? If those reactions are coming from us, how do we manage that within ourselves? And if it's coming from someone else at you, how do you manage that? So, 6 types of defensive reactions. Let's start with a breath, though. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Letting your shoulders drop. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And I'll give you the place yesterday I was aware of the potential for a defensive reaction. I had set up a Teams call with one of the principal planners from the city of Appleton because I had questions about accessory dwelling units. And when this man came on the Teams call, I could tell he was kind of waiting, feeling me out, waiting to see how was I going to react to his feedback. Good morning, Maureen. Glad you were here. Which basically was, you can't do what you want to do. I was already prepared that that's what I was going to hear. Good morning, Beth. Glad you're here. And I wasn't taking it personally, and I wasn't upset by it. I just wanted to pick his brain a little bit in terms of how did this come to be? What are the ways of modifying this, etc. So the call went very well. I learned a ton. I learned other options. Useful stuff. But it was interesting to see that I could tell he was kind of waiting to see, was I going to get snarky and nasty with him? Was I going to have a defensive reaction? So here are the 6 defensive reactions. They're clumped in 3 categories, and then each category has 2 underneath it. So the categories are surrender, withdraw, counterattack. So those are some unhealthy ways that we respond, react, surrender, withdraw, counterattack. So under surrender, there is surrender betray, which is she characterizes as the codependent personality type. Giving in to someone who treats you poorly, blaming yourself, and making excuse for their behavior. Okay, so one of the things I want you to do is, as I'm reading all of these, think about our current government situation. We're finding all of these reactions happening on one side or another, all over the board, right? So unhealthy system responding unhealthily, and what can make a difference? We need what we're going to talk about toward the end. So surrender, betray, the codependent personality type. Giving in to someone who treats you poorly, blaming yourself, and making excuses for that person. Then there's surrender, sabotage, which is the passive-aggressive personality type. Pretending to agree with someone who you think is treating you poorly and then doing something to undermine them. So you're not being direct, you're being behind the scenes. So those are the 2 surrender types. Surrender, betray, surrender, sabotage. Then there's withdraw. First one is withdraw, escape, which is the passive personality type. You avoid talking about something you don't want to discuss in order to avoid conflict. How about them Packers? Whatever's going to deflect, move you off of the subject, not address it. And then there's withdraw and trap, which is the vindictive personality type. Refusing to respond to someone in order to draw them into a situation where they may feel uncomfortable or act inappropriately. So you're weaving a web that they can get caught in. So those are the two withdraw types: withdraw, escape, withdraw, and trap. And then there's counterattack. We're seeing a whole lot of this right now. There's counterattack, justify, which is the defensive personality type. You respond to criticism by explaining your own behavior or making excuses. Counterattack, blame, the aggressive personality type. Attacking the other person's position in an attempt to defend yourself. Attacking the other person's character, attacking the other person's perceived thought process, whatever it is, trying to diminish that person through attacking them on some level. Again, we're seeing all of these right now, are we not? So again, we get to the end of the list and we go, okay, so if this is what's going on that's not healthy, what is healthy? What is healthy? What do we do with all this stuff, right? And I think there's multiple things that we've talked about, multiple things that we can do to respond appropriately. Note the word respond, not react. The whole gist of the book, taking the war out of our words, the whole gist is, how do you create non-defensive responses? Sometimes it's choosing not to respond. Just don't take the bait, right? But it can be things using the tools that she's given us. It can be asking questions in as neutral a way as you can. I'm wondering if you intended at just asking questions. The biggest issue with that one is watching your tone. Watching your tone. Because again, if you have someone who is in defense, oftentimes a question will provoke a defensive response. Any kind of question. So she shares a story in there about someone asking her Aunt Mabel how her daughters were. And Aunt Mabel responded with, "What are you, the FBI?" Obviously there's something behind there, right? And because it came in the form of a question, Aunt Mabel reacted. So oftentimes we can take a question and just turn it into a statement. It could, in that case, it could be something along the lines of, "Too bad Jane and Sue aren't able to be here. I was hoping to talk to them about how they're doing." It's a statement rather than a question. See what Aunt Mabel does. She may offer nothing. Run with that. But she may say, well, I can't remember. Jane, was that one of the names I used? Well, Jane's going back to school and she's pretty stressed out and blah, blah, blah. She might then offer information. Maybe, maybe not. Again, I think with all of these tools, be the experimenter, be the curious observer. I was talking to someone yesterday, a client who today is embarking on something new and was very concerned about it. Good morning, Bobby. Welcome. So I suggested that she put on her curious observer hat and go in from that perspective. What do you observe? What do you see? What do you notice? How do you feel about what you're seeing, noticing, etc.? How are others reacting? The paying attention to taking the temperature of the situation. So back, we have our questions. We also have predictions. If this happens, I will do this. If that happens, I will do this. Laying out for people what you intend to do in various circumstances so that they know there's no surprises. It's all laid out on the table. If you're also getting a defensive reaction, physically you can make some adjustments. If you're standing pretty close to that person, you can take a step back. that can help cue the person that maybe they came off a little strident there. You can also, maybe you soften your eye contact. Maybe you open your mouth slightly. The things that imply that you're not in a reactive stance. Because if they feel you bristle, then you got this thing going on, right? Pushing back and forth with each other. The more calm you can stay and the more reasonable your reactions, probably the easier it'll be for them to ratchet it down. Sometimes that has the exact opposite effect. If someone is trying to bait you, if they want to fight, if they're having a bad day and they want to get you into their bad day, you remaining calm can light them up like a Christmas tree. Bottom line is, that's not your problem. They are in reaction. You're doing your best to not join them in reaction, right? So that might be the point where you take your leave. I'm sensing you're having a hard day. I'm going to give you a little space. I'm going to go get a coffee, whatever. Sometimes being more lovingly direct like that, you're saying what you're seeing, you're describing what you're seeing. If they say, I'm not having a bad day, there's a part in Taking the War Out of Our Words where she talks about how you bring onto the table that disparity that you're seeing between words and actions. So it could be, I hear you telling me you're not upset, yet the tone of your voice is pretty strident and you're leaning in and you've got your fists clenched. So it looks to me like you are having a reaction. I'm not sure. The words and the actions don't fit together. Let them go where they're going to go with that. For the person who is let me find it here, the withdraw, escape person, the passive personality type person, that's going to be a challenge. Challenges are what make us stronger. So for you passive personality type people, where you just want to go, I just want to run to the bathroom and lock the door. And one of my friends who sometimes tends to let too much stuff go actually acted on this the other day. Called out someone who is higher in the hierarchy at her work, who was yelling at her about something, and she very calmly said, I was not informed of that. Had I been informed, I certainly would have taken care of it, but I wasn't informed, and yeah. So proud of her. So proud of her. She actually spoke up instead of just taking it and then being pissed and whatever. So in this heightened defensive time that we are living in, I'm going to suggest that we all are going to have multiple opportunities, and let's call them that. Good morning, Tira. Glad you're here. Multiple opportunities to practice our responsiveness to other people's reactiveness. How do we stay grounded? How do we stay centered? How do we choose an appropriate response when someone else may be being inappropriate? And again, you have a plethora of choices. How you deliver them makes a difference. And again, if you're getting kind of the amygdala hijack, and all your warning bells are going off, do what you can to calm yourself. First thing is, take a breath. Let your shoulders drop, even wiggle a little bit. They might go, what are you doing? And you can say, I'm preparing my response. A little bit of humor sometimes can be very helpful. Sometimes people can catch it then that they've moved into defensiveness. Okay, yeah, I was a little reactive there. Give me a minute. And you can have a decent conversation. So the Thich Nhat Hanh thing, part of the quote was something about responding with love. Responding with love. Well, whether you know the person or not, someone's flipping you off in traffic, whatever. Responding with love. I bless you on your way. I bless you on your way. I'm not going to respond in kind because it's not kind, the more of us who are staying as calm as possible and as non-reactive as possible and as responsive as possible, the better off we're going to be. And then that models that for other people. If we have a slip, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. There is this heightened energy right now. So it's easy to get our buttons poked. You can go back afterwards and say, you know, I kind of bit your head off there. I'm sorry about that. Everything's just pretty tense right now. Let me give you a more thoughtful reply. There's no reason that you can't go back and undo what you did. Offer the apology, offer the different response, move forward from there. So, hopefully this was helpful, reviewing the 6 defensive reactions, because oftentimes when we see aggressiveness in somebody, we assume that they're just an a-hole. If instead we can frame it as there's defensiveness in there, and that defensiveness often comes out of a sense of not having power, whether they're wielding power indiscriminately, it can come from that sense of not having power. And the more controlling someone gets, we know the more out of control they feel. It's so easy to spin out of control when you're trying to control everything. So, giving people a little bit of space, giving people the love, sending good energy, holding people responsible for behaviors and choices, etc. That doesn't mean you have to be dumped on, absolutely not. But doing so respectfully, not blowing the other person's hair back the same way they just blew your hair back. Not helpful, all right? So again, I think we're going to have ample opportunities to practice this stuff. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, throw them in the feed and we will go from there. But I hope you have a wonderful Thursday and we'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.